pressure always not to screw up. And I thought, oh my goodness, even at 7, that seemed very heavy, right? I had a 12-hour period where I got 2,500 really hateful emails. I got life threats, like the RCMP had never seen anything like it. But it's a pretty special thing when you get to have a real meaningful conversation with someone and get to know someone on a human to human being level, you know?
Hello, this is Ale Tarnishi, the host of One of Us podcast. This podcast focuses on message of hope, focus on story of people who turn their struggle to success, who turn their mess to a message. And the purpose of this podcast is just to motivate and inspire people who are going through struggle and that it can be done. And today we have one of us. We have the mayor, Don Arnold. Please help me welcome Don Arnold. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
It's a real pleasure to be here with Ali. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you very much. Don Arnold, we see you always smiling, always happy, but a lot of people don't see what's going on behind the scene. Can you tell us about yourself? Who is Don? And Don in general, as a person, as a human, not as political, not as a public figure.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm what they refer to around here as a snobby upper Canadian. I grew up near London, Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had a tobacco field in my backyard. I grew
Oh,
up in
really?
a small town in a Bible belt.
Okay.
And, a really small town. And
So you are originally from Ontario?
yeah.
Okay.
So, a lot of people, here think that you're from away, and I guess I am. I am like you. I'm from away.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One of us.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we want to get to know Don Arnold, like when did you move to Moncton?
Probably around 26 years ago now, I think.
26?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a Monctonian now.
I am a Monctonian. I learned to play the fiddle when I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Very poorly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't gone for a skidoo ride though, so I don't know if I'm
So
really
that's
in.
something in your bucket list.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So one of us, as this podcast about, we want to talk about like message of hope.
Mm-hmm.
People who turn their struggle to success, their mess to a message. What is something that's Don Arnold like touch your heart and you struggle with as a person, and you manage to bounce back and get from that?
Well, I'm not sure that I've ever really bounced back. I mean, it's been pretty much a lifelong struggle for me. In that I have, I grew up in this small town in a very safe environment. But I was, I have a brother and my mom and dad. We lived a very regular kind of life. But I was the first person in my family to go to university, and there was a lot of pressure always on me to do well in school. Like, it was just understood that you will go to university, you will succeed in life, and there was a lot of pressure always not to screw up. But I'm not even really sure where that came from my parents. I know that they wanted the best for me, but it was always like, just don't mess things up. But I was always that kind of kid that wanted to be involved in everything. I was in student council, like in grade 8, grade 13. Yes, I went to grade 13 in Ontario at that time. There was a grade 13. I was on student council, president in high school, and then again in university, and just was always one of those people that was just really involved in things. So inevitably, when you're in a leadership role, you take risks and you're uncomfortable. I mean, if you want to make things better, often you have to do these sorts of things, right? But it was a rather God-fearing community I grew up in, and
was it a small community? Yeah?
Very small community. I remember being about 7, and I was sitting around a Sunday school table, and my Sunday school teacher had lost part of her finger in a farming accident.
Wow.
And she held up her hand and she went like this and she said, you be good or else God will punish you like God punished me. And I thought, oh my goodness, even at 7, that seemed very heavy, right? And this was just, we went to church a lot, and it was just a kind of an overbearing presence all the time that, everybody's watching you like they do in a small town, right? But then in grade 11, I had this teacher. He was so amazing. And I think many people's stories are about a teacher that has made a difference in their lives. So in grade 11, I had this teacher named Mr. Pike. And Mr. Pike was the kind of teacher that would jump up on the table and start like singing Leonard Cohen's Suzanne Takes You Down, that kind of thing. And he exposed us to just a whole other world. And we read a novel. It's called The Stranger or L'Étrangère by Albert Camus.
Okay.
And it was really changed my life. It made me realize that the way all of these oppressive ideas didn't have to be that way. And one of my literary heroes is Northrop Frye, because I ran the Frye Festival for years. And he has a great quote that's actually from him. He was riding his bike along St. George Boulevard, just outside of here.
Okay.
And he quotes when he was riding along, and then all of a sudden, and I'm quoting, that whole shitty and smelly cloak of fundamentalist thinking just dropped in the gutter. And I had that moment where I said, I don't have to live this life. I don't have to be constrained by these stories. And it was incredibly freeing. And so, I went on to go to the University of Toronto. I did a degree in French and English literature, and then almost every job I've ever had, I have done ridiculous things to get it. So I knew that I really wanted to work in publishing. And so, like, books and magazines had always been part of my life. As a young kid, I knew the librarian in my small town by name, and she would feed me books, And so I knew I wanted to work in publishing. And I knew that back in my small town, there was a woman whose daughter worked in publishing in Toronto.
Okay.
So I said I'd babysit her kids and
Okay.
chase after her dogs and do whatever. And I finally got a job working with her when I graduated from university. And she was a very important mentor to me, and was part of helped me to go to Harvard.
At what age was that one?
That was, I don't know, when you graduate university,
Okay,
like
okay.
20,
21,
21, 22,
okay.
something like that. And so when I was working for her, she helped sponsor me, and I went to Harvard. I did their Radcliffe publishing program,
Wow.
which was so cool to meet all
It was a good
these
experience.
publishers from all over, right? And yeah.
Amazing.
Unfortunately, I was getting married the next week, so because I was ready to go to New York and be a New York publisher, but I got married instead.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So Dawn, thank you for sharing that. Like the pressure was high, especially you were the first one, like to go to university, and always like when we are the first in the family to go to university, want to impress, and we want like to do good, we want to excel, and that teacher helped you, like you just get relieved when you said, okay, it doesn't have to be that way. How you felt after that, like when you just realized that it doesn't have to be that way?
Oh, it was great, but I still had a lot of work to do. It didn't just all
Like an inner work.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been a lifelong project, really. Yeah.
Okay. And after the graduation from the university, did the challenge become higher, or did you like get over that pressure or that perfectionist that you, or still get a little bit more?
No, it's haunted me my whole life, you know, and it's always, I think I've lived a life where I've always just sort of, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And never really took the time to celebrate and really just stop and enjoy it. It was always just what's next. And I think it's really just been since COVID that I've really, you know, taken the time to kind of reflect on, you know, what are my real values, you know, and what am I trying to accomplish in my life, and you know, where are my boundaries of what is important in life. Because I think I was just always that person that was just going, just on to the next thing. And I think I was in a pretty unhealthy state, but it had served me okay. Like it wasn't debilitating, but at the same time,
it was pushing you to achieve more and more.
You get to a certain point in your life. I'm 57, and you realize that what got you here may not get you there to your next level. And I realized I needed to really take some time and reflect and decide what was important and where I really wanted to spend my time.
And you're right. You said that's during the COVID. A lot of people during COVID, they realize that what is most important to them.
Yeah.
Family, health, and just self-care.
Yeah.
A lot of people, because when COVID hit, you can't go anywhere. Even if you have the money, you can't do anything. You can't even go see anybody. But a lot of people sit down and start to reflect. What is important to me? What is my value? What makes me happy? And I am one of those during COVID. I that's when I make the switch as well. I just realized, I said, okay, I have to make a vision for my life. And that's probably when you realize as well that, Dawn, that I said, okay, I don't have to push, but I have to fix or put my energy toward what's important to me.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a real moment for that for me. Yeah. But it doesn't just happen like that either.
No. It take courage. It take time. It take a lot of hard work, and that's what the podcast is about. Is about like one of us, and we want to focus on emotional fitness. A lot of people work on the physical fitness, and they look good from the outside, but the inside is not very good. And we want it to be okay. It's okay not to be okay, and it's good to share. It's good to ask for help, and it's good to look for friends and family that push you to go from your struggle. And what is something or some mess that was in your life, Dawn, and you turn it to a message that you live by? I know, like...
Yeah. All of politics. There are challenges. We're living in a time when people are really, really angry about everything, and they want their leaders to take a stand. And but the moment you take a stand, if it's not the stand that other people want, then they're so angry. And we're living in a very, very divisive time. So I have to work really hard every day to be intentional about my life and how I'm living, because it comes at me from a lot of different directions. There's a lot of hate out there. And so if I am obsessed by that hate, if I'm letting it take me down to a bad place, then I can't be a good leader. So I'm very intentional. Every day I meditate in the morning. And I've done it for 377 days straight. And really taking that time early in the morning to reflect on the day, I journal now. I never did that before COVID. In fact, I was a little bit afraid of it because I thought I didn't want to make a commitment if I couldn't keep it up. So I came up with a system that works really well for me. So every morning I start with gratitude, something that I'm grateful for from the day before, a success, something that was good, then what went well. So how did I use my unique skills in some way? And then future focus, like what do I want out of that day? And what do I want to keep in mind that day, whether it's curiosity, whether it's kindness, compassion, whatever, and kind of have that key word to kind of ground me throughout the day. And just try to take moments during often really busy days where you're going from one thing to another to kind of just breathe, pause, and ground and stop and, really reflect. Because if I let all that noise in and just, I can't come
focus
at things from a good place. But that takes a lot of intentionality every day.
So gratitude, be present, and just don't take anything personal.
Which is a lot easier to say than to do, right? You really try not to take things personally. You can't, and yet we're all human.
Definitely.
You know, if people say really hateful things to you, you're still a human being, right? So it's still hard to take. Yeah.
Definitely, especially like you are in that position and everybody looking at you like you're not supposed to screw up. You're not supposed to do what. One of us, you're one of us, and you are like any of us that we need to focus. And as you said, you have to be intentional. You have to be focused, and there is so many ethnicity. There is so many religion. There is so many different people from different background. So it's, as you said at the beginning, it's hard to take a stand. And if you take a stand, it's somebody else said why it's in that stand. So it's, I don't know how you do it, and it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of courage. And kudos to you for all that.
Oh, thank you.
So Don, Arnold, we get to know you. We get to know you, like your struggle. We get to know like some of your practice, how the gratitude and all that stuff. Now, as a woman, the first mayor woman in Moncton, and that came with so many challenges and stuff like that. So, how did you manage, like as a woman, taking that leadership role, and like what is how you dealt with it, and how you managed to get like this is the second. The 10th year, like how long you been?
This is my second term. Yeah.
Second term,
so
okay.
almost 8 years as mayor, and then 4 years before. Yeah.
Okay, what is some of the challenges, and how do you manage to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always been a woman. I don't know that, so I don't really know what
as a leadership.
Like.
As a leadership, I mean, for the.
I think initially, you know, when I ran, some of the critique was, oh, will she be able to do the tough stuff? Will she be able to handle, you know, the difficult things? And I think I've proven that I can do that. But it's been an interesting journey because probably of my age, and because of the fact that, you know, I have grown up in my leadership in a man's world in a lot of ways, that I probably followed those rules more than I probably should have. I feel that it is only now at this point in my career that I am finding my authentic voice. You know, who I really am, and have the confidence to speak with that.
And what is that authentic voice?
Well, I think it's one, I hope, of courage and, you know, optimism for the future. I think people need that. People need hope right now. So how do we tell the stories in a way? I know there's a lot going on in the world, but how do we as individuals affect the positive change that we can affect in our immediate area? And how do we tell those stories? I think it's really important right now. We've all survived 100% of our worst days. So how do we filter that in and realize that we've done that, and use that strength, use that new knowledge to go forward and make the world a better place? I know that sounds super corny, but you know, that drives me. I believe in our community and what is possible here. And I think right now, like, the possibilities are endless. And how do we inspire people to have that hope for the future? I talk a lot about, you know, in New Brunswick, a lot of times we talk about a pie, you know, like this, and we talk about cutting it up, arguing over the crumbs, rather than thinking of how do we make that pie bigger for everyone to be successful.
And that is what is important. It is how you make that, and everybody benefit from that, and everybody, like, it's just have part of that pie, but it's almost like an ocean. If you take a cup and you go fill that cup, the ocean is not going to finish. A lot of people, that is what we call like the abundance mentality. And you have that skill as a leader, like to share that and be part of that positive. And I know like there is so much going on in Moncton right now, and like how to keep positive. It's something that's, I don't know how you do it, and I don't know, like, especially with a lot of challenges, a lot's going on. Like I know, like. This is part of some of the struggle and stuff like that. And this is your 8 years in this role. like I know there is like immigration, there is a lot of like also like for the homelessness and all that stuff, but like you always keep positive and you always find a solution in the middle of darkness.
Well, we try, you know. I have dark days for sure. I mean, December was pretty much the lowest I have ever been in my entire political career. It was terrible. You know, we really, we kind of messed up, and, you know, we had to apologize to the community. We had, you know, so, and that was truly terrible. It was
and that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey. Like,
But I do believe that, you know, the work I had done, you know, to really try to become resilient, to become, you know, better at what I let in, you know, we can't, you know, I am a bit of a control freak. I like to control things, but, you know, you realize you can't. And all you can control really is how you react to things. So, so getting, you know, better at that. My goal has always been, you know, life comes along. Good things happen. Bad things happen.
Definitely.
When those bad things happen, having the tools to get back up. Because that's it. Like, it's that ability to get back up when really terrible things happen that I think is absolutely critical in all of this. Because no matter what you do, no matter what you try and do, things will go wrong sometimes, right?
Definitely. And that's part of the journey, part of life. And Don, my friend, I know like what your position as a leader, as a mayor, and how you handle like the criticism, how you handle like, there was a lot of online hate that targeted toward you as a leader, as a mayor. How you put a guard and how you put like a protection. Like I know, like not anybody can deal with that if everybody like pointing to you and all that stuff. How you manage, how you...
Well, it's not, I don't always. Like I had a 12-hour period where I got 2,500 really hateful emails. I got life threats. Like the RCMP had never seen anything like it. I had someone had hacked my website.
Really? Wow.
It was really, really terrible. But I really tried to stay focused on what we can do and, you know, the good things of where we can move to. I have a very supportive partner in my life that, you know, has been there all the way through and is just always just there, you know. And
so that's the secret.
Well, to have unconditional love is, you know, a pretty special thing in this world. To have somebody, and, you know, my kids, my family, you know, they've been there and they've been through all the struggles with me, right? So they're very supportive of it all, because my kids have really grown up with this. This has been what they've, you know, for...
How old are your kids?
Well, now they're 25 and 29, but I mean, but they've seen, you know, the highs and the lows of it all, you know. So
how don't manage like to between like as a wife, as a mother, as
I'm not very good at those things.
As a leader, how you coordinate between all this? Does that what affect you outside of the family home? How when you go home, does that affect you and affect the family? Or
it does, for sure. But trying to find that, like I used to say, balance. I don't think there's balance really, but sort of an equilibrium maybe. Trying to find the sweet spot in all of it. But again, you can't do that. You can't be a good mom. You can't be a good wife. Can't be a good leader if you don't. If you're not filling your own bucket up a bit. So I have asked for lots of help in my life, and I have done different coaching and that sort of thing. And one that was really helpful was around your needs, and to really look at what are your personal needs. And I know for me, autonomy is super important. Being able to have some control over my life is a really important thing to me. Health. Very important, because what have you got if you don't have health?
Definitely.
So, you know, I tried to do yoga. I go outside in nature for an hour every day, always, you know, really committed to that. And, you know, or biking, I bike a lot, doing those sorts of things. Connection, you know, making those meaningful connections. Like I meet a lot of people all the time, but it's real connections with people. That's super important. Purpose, you know, why are we here? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? I would say change the game, don't let the game change you. You know, like
Definitely.
what is your purpose? What are you really getting up for in the morning? That's super important. You know, this one isn't as important to me, but security, you know, like for some people are very security dominant. They feel for their safety. It's not something I think about a lot. It's just a personal thing. Esteem. We all struggle with that, feeling not worthy, not capable, you know, these sorts of things. So, but understanding the stories that you're telling yourself about that and making sure you have a little bit of time for leisure, like doing those fun things. Like my New Year's resolution was more fun. So I've been playing pickleball and it is fun.
So sometimes you have to break from that and just like, because if it's life is always busy, you'll break down and you need
and
some
so
fun.
and when that happens, you also need to look back. Okay, what was this week like? Like what? Oh yeah, I didn't eat very well. I didn't get enough sleep. Oh yeah, didn't get to see any of the really special people in my life, or you know, whatever. When you look back, you're like, okay,
I was missing that.
I was missing that. So I need to fill that one up a little bit. You know.
So when you were talking about the meaningful connection, meeting with people, how can you like you have to, as you shared at the beginning, intention. So when you are sitting, because it could be that meaningful conversation, somebody tried to turn it to like maybe back to work or politics and stuff like that, but you make that decision, that present, they said, in a deep breath and having that meaningful conversation with the person that you feel that connection, that vibe with.
Oh, it's just so important, don't you find?
Definitely.
Like, you know, there's a lot of superficiality in this world, but it's a pretty special thing when you get to have a real meaningful conversation with someone and get to know someone on a human to human being level, you know?
Soul to soul.
Exactly.
Almost meeting yourself.
Well, it's just, it's pretty special.
Okay, so a meaningful conversation and be present and connecting, this is like almost like a treat to the soul. And it's almost like a runaway from all the chaos of what's going on. And do you usually like those meaningful conversations? Do you choose those people, or you already have like some friend that you feel you are connected to them and stuff like that, my friend?
I mean, there's a little bit of both. You know, I have I call them my Dawn Squad, you know, that I go to that are pretty special people. But I love random encounters. Like when you...
Those are the best.
Oh, it's so special when you just meet someone and you just connect with them.
Yes.
Oh, it's like such a gift. Those days, those fill your bucket right up, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
It's pretty special when that happens.
And now we started, my friend Don Arnold, like with the beginning, like all the struggle, the fear that you had as a young lady, and the success that you achieved as a mayor. Now, one of us, it could be me, it could be you, it could be anybody else. And people who are watching, what advice that you could tell people like they are going through struggle and stuff like that? What is some of the advices that you can give them? And the other part, what's some of the advice you give to the young leaders or the leader of the future?
Well, that things will happen, you know, like it won't be perfect, but, you know, learn from it. I think like we learn from every encounter. I also think, I think self-awareness is the most important skill for the future. So really knowing who you are, knowing what your values are.
That's a big thing.
And knowing what's important to you, knowing what your skills are. You're not going to be good at everything.
Definitely.
You know, and own those skills that are unique to you, I think can be really, really helpful. And, you know, I know sometimes people think that, you know, optimism is kind of I don't know, kind of cheesy. But I personally think it's better than the alternative, and, you know, try to find the good in things. I think it can be really helpful. And, you know, we're living in a time where people are angry and they want to like rant on social media and this sort of thing. If you really want to affect change, like if you're unhappy with the way things are and you want to change them for the better, go for it. But seek out the helpers who can help you do that. they're not necessarily on social media.
Definitely.
But there are lots and there are people, everybody wants help. I would say that in our community, if you reach out to any leader and you say, listen, I'm interested in running for council, I'm interested in, taking on this leadership position, people will meet with you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll talk to you. They'll give you advice. Like, don't be shy. And I think that's hard because I think COVID kind of took some of that out of people. Some of those human to human interactions, we got kind of out of practice of it. But, being in leadership, I'm uncomfortable all the time, like all the time. Today, speaking to 20 French ambassadors from around the world, I was super nervous, after many years of this, I still get nervous.
And it's normal. It's part of the human
life
nature.
is not, sometimes there is discomfort in it, but that's how you grow too, right? So sometimes just take a deep breath and do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
That's a great message. Thank you very much, Don Arnold, for accepting the invitation and be part of this. And as Don said, be there, be present, and just if you have a challenge, just face it and ask for help. Because when you ask for help, you'll never know who could be there to help you. And the most important thing, if you're struggling with something, half of the cure is admitting that there is something wrong, and that's one of us, could be anyone, can offer you a hand of help. You just have to ask. Thank you very much, and see you for another episode. Thank you, Don.